Welcome and welcome back, Battle Comma Podcast family, to another Thursday morning here with us. And today we are going over our November monthly wrap up. And you pretty much know how this goes. We'll tell you stats, tell you the books we read, what we rated it, and we'll go from there. Liz, you want to start with your stats?
Sure. So in the month of November, I read four books equaling 1,524 pages. Um, my moods were the biggest one was emotional, then dark, and my pace was medium. Uh, it ranged from 300 pages to 500. All of them were fiction. My biggest genre was romance and then fantasy. And they were all audiobooks in the month of November, which, yeah. My average rating was 4.56 stars. I had two books I rated 5-star. One was Quicksilver, and the other was Deep in My Soul by Asia. And yeah, those are my stats.
All right. So for my stats for the month of November, I also read four books, totaling 1,786 pages. Biggest moods were lighthearted and emotional. Majority of them were medium paced. All of them were between 300 to 499 pages. All fiction. Biggest genre was romance and then contemporary. Um, Two of my books were audio and two of my books were digital. Right?
I'm so proud of
Um,
you.
and my average rating this month, or for last month, sorry, was 4 stars. I have two 3.5, one 4 star, one 5 star. All right, Liz, let's go into your books. What's your first one?
Okay, so let's go in. So, my first one was Lights Out by Navessa Allen. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. I put it at 4.25.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, really good. Really good. And my next book was A Dowry of Blood by C.T. Gibson.
S.T. Gibson.
S.T. Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed this book. While
Mm-hmm.
going over this with Colette, she was like, I didn't like that book. Now,
I think this is the first time we've really disagreed.
in the book's defense, she only read like 5 pages, y'all.
That was enough for me as a reader, that was enough for me to know that book wasn't going to be for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's the story told from one of Dracula's wives, and she just goes over how she met him, what led to her killing him,
Mm-hmm.
and why, and just her thought process of becoming a vampire and living that life, and how she had to navigate through all the different things and introducing new wives into their circle and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. I enjoyed it. Colette did not, whatever. If she wants to give it a try, it is on Audible Plus.
I bought it. I'm mad about that.
So, yeah. And then my next book was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
loved it. Rated it 5 stars. I got the audiobook. So when I use my credits on Audible, I always look at the price of the book because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the books are like $8. I'm not about to use my $15 credit
Right.
on an $8 book. This book was on sale at $35. So I used my credit and it did not disappoint. It has dual narration. The book is mostly read from the female because it is from a female perspective, but anytime that the male main character had to speak, a
Mm-hmm.
male voice, and his voice was great. They did a really good job in the narration of this book. hands down, one of the best that I've heard in a while.
Mm.
Besides, of course, Logan Lark, and Anyway, 5-star book. Could not like this book. Came with me inside. I didn't even need to be listened to Audible, and I was listening to it. So good. I recommend. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. Anyways, then after that, I have Deep in My Soul by Asia. I had listened to her first one called She's Got Soul. This is a mature romance. I truly enjoy Asia's writing. The book was great, narrated great. It was also a dual narration. So good. And just her writing in general, like her storylines, it was really well. Written really well. And I enjoyed it a lot. And those are my 4 books. Colette, yours.
Okay. My first book that I read was The Perfect Find by Tia Williams. 5 stars. If you have Netflix, you know that they turned this book into a movie on Netflix starring Gabrielle Union and fine ass Keith Powers, because he's fine. Okay? Perfect casting for Keith Powers. Don't get me wrong. I like Gabrielle Union. You know what? She wasn't casted poorly. I don't like how she acted in the movie.
Okay.
They did a disservice to this book.
Oh. I hate
That's how much. Yeah, they did a disservice to the book. The book was top tier, 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. And the funny thing is, I watched the movie first, not knowing it was a book. Then I found out it was a book, so I went back and read it because it is available on Kindle Unlimited. It's fantastic. It's an age gap romance. She was in the, what do you call it? Clothing. What do you call them?
Fashion industry.
Fashion industry. Thank you, because apparently I can't remember the word fashion. She was in the fashion industry. She had a whole meltdown. Basically was, I guess you would say, blacklisted out of working. Eventually came out of that, started working for one of her biggest competitors growing up, but she would always get the best job. So the fact that she's now having to humble herself, take a huge pay cut from what she was getting to work for her competitor, because that was the only person that was hiring her, meets a young man, and it proceeds from there. You know what this reminds me of? Younger.
Ooh, I like that show.
I did too. If you ever watch Younger, it's very similar.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. 5 stars. My next book was the book that Liz told me about, Technically Speaking. This was an Audible book, only available on Audible, by narrated by Keith Powers and Coco Jones. Coco Jones is the new Hillary in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, if you watch it on Peacock. She narrates it. She is the female lead character. Keith Powers is the male lead character. Let me tell you something. Keith Powers is fine. Okay?
She loves her
read from
Keith Powers.
I do. He could read from a phone book, and I just be like, okay.
Technically Speaking was good.
Yeah. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. She basically wins a contest. She steals someone's identity, wins a contest, ends up working with Keith Powers, who's like the CEO, and not steal it like she was,
like maliciously.
Yeah, it was more so she was not. She worked in the food part of the company,
the food court of the company.
Yeah. And then she found someone's ID, and they worked in I want to say engineering, but it's not engineering.
Software engineering,
maybe. Yeah. And so she built a program. She actually won that contest, ended up working with Keith Powers, and it goes from there. Keith, ask me what the main character name is. I don't know. Keith Powers. Anyway, fantastic. 4 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. She had all the qualifications.
Yes.
For
just not the education.
Didn't have the education, which sucks, but she did it. She did it. She did it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I really liked that one.
Yeah, it was super cute. And it's quick. It's only like a 2-hour listen. So the next book I read was A Holly Jolly Diwali by Sonia Lally.
We knew she was going to read it. We just knew it.
I thought it was cute. I gave it 3.5 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars, not because it's bad or anything. I think it's like a typical cultural romance,
Okay.
where you're typically a first generation American. Your parents are trying to make you maintain the culture, but you're really not involved because you were born and raised in the US. I don't, you know. So she goes home for Diwali, I guess, which is like their Christmas. It's the Festival of Lights. If you know, let me know in the comments. I'm not sure, but I want to say it's like around Christmas time. In India, she meets a guy. She never takes any chances. She's very much, I guess, a real Indian daughter. You went to school, you got your degree, you never moved out, you don't bring guys home. She only had one boyfriend who was also Indian. He ended up dumping her, but that was back in college. Um, she works at like a tech company. She's really good at her job, but she's not passionate about it, but it's secure. You're going to make money. And then she ends up getting fired. She goes home to India for Diwali and meets a guy, and it progresses from there. And she's figuring out how she wants to live her life, what makes her happy, all of that good stuff. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. It was fun. They had funny moments. And then the last book I read was another Audible book, which is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I gave it 3.5 stars. Let me tell you why I gave it 3.5 stars. That book messed my head up. She wrote and published this book in 1993. The story starts in 2023. So 20 years from when she wrote this book and published it. Okay? She talks about a guy that's running for president that owns businesses. He runs for president. He sells them a dream. He ends up selling the US to like different countries like Canada, China. And people go there because the price of living is so high. People can't afford homes anymore. So families are now living together in like 3-bedroom homes. They turned a garage into like an apartment for a family. People are sharing rooms. They lived in like these walled cities or neighborhoods, I should say. They're not even cities, they're neighborhoods. Wow. And they're walled because they have people on the outside that don't have homes. So they come in and they try to rob you. They steal your stuff. They will kill you. They're on drugs. They're not working. And he basically sold the country to other countries. So people are working, but they're not working for cash. So what happens is they pay you in something called scrip. Scrip means that whatever the company is selling, you can use that to buy it from that company. You can't take it out and go outside to like a Walmart and go get something different. So if they don't have it there, you just don't get it.
Wow.
So they're not paying you enough in scrip. So your room and board that you're supposed to have, it doesn't cover it. So now you're having to figure out whether or not you want to pay for your room and board or if you want to eat. Water is expensive, so you have to pay for water. Again, you're having to figure out if you want to eat or pay for water. Certain things like that. And eventually people start going into debt with those companies that they're working for. So now they have something called what we know as indentured slavery, which is you're going to work off your debt. But now they don't have to pay you because you owe them time. But because you're working off your debt, you're going into more debt trying to work off the debt. That book messed my head up. Really well written. I see why people love Octavia E. Butler. She does write a lot of like sci-fi dystopian thriller type of books, but they're always set in the real world. And a lot of the stuff she writes is like, yo, that could really happen. Kindred, as a matter of fact, is on Hulu. That's a book that she wrote where this girl goes back in time and she's saving this little white boy, and she's always connected to this white family. And it's like during slavery times, but she's in like 2024 or whatever. I'm saying 2024 because that's what we're in, but she's in the present time. She goes back in history. She's always connected to this white family. Come to find out, the white family has a lot of history, but if she doesn't help them, her family won't exist. But they're not like the best people. It's a mind fuck. So yeah, I would recommend it. Parable of Sower. Fantastic. I downloaded the second book. It's free on Audible if you have Audible, but I need a moment. I need a moment. But yeah, those were my 4 books of November. Yeah. I would recommend all.
That concludes our November wrap up. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for our November wrap up. If you read any of these books, please let us know your thoughts below. And let us know, what was your favorite November read? Maybe it's something that we could add to our TBR, because we're always open to that.
Right.
Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you. It's November. We have 1 more month, and you guys have stuck around this long, so we really appreciate you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all socials: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And again, I can't say it enough. We can't say it enough. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys.